How's it going, ladies and gents? You already know who it is, it's your main man Raph from B&C Camera. In today's video, we'll be providing you with some tips for filming at night. Every video content creator will have to film at night at some point. The problem is that camera sensors require a significant amount of light to produce good pictures. This is true for all types of cameras, whether an iPhone, a GoPro, a DSLR, mirrorless camera, even a cinema cam. Cameras require light to give you that cinematic look we all crave, pure and simple. If you don't have enough light, your footage will be unusable and full of grain. Just a limitation of the technology we're using, despite it getting better and better with each new generation of camera. Of course, you can bring all the light you need if you're part of a major production. However, this isn't really an option for many independent filmmakers, vloggers, documentarians, and run-and-go filmmakers. So we're gonna have to make do with what little light is available and affordable. So let's go ahead and jump right into the tips for recording video in a dark room or outdoors when there isn't enough natural light. Make the most of the natural light that's outside. Unless it's completely dark, there's generally enough light in your scene to work with. It may not be much, but it might be sufficient. Spotting it and taking advantage of it is key. Take a good look at the lighting conditions before you begin recording. If you have access to a street lamp, be sure to use it. You might be able to use it as a functioning light source depending on the scene. Move your cast so that the street lamp's illumination grazes them. If you want the face of your actors to be illuminated, turn them so they are facing the light. This is a great way to showcase, say for example, your protagonist or your main subject of the film. On the other hand, you may have the light shine on the back of your antagonist's head instead, making his whole face pitch black to make it more frightening. But of course, it entirely depends on what kind of video you're making. Definitely not a good technique if you're trying to make a commercial for the newest technological gadget on the market. Unless of course that's what you're shooting for. If you're making a film, you may use this approach with store windows or neon signs. Both may provide some bright hues to your scene. Has it rained? Excellent. There may be some fascinating reflections on cars or windows for B-roll footage. I personally am a big fan of scenes where light sources bounces off of reflective surfaces, puddles of water especially. Take a good look at the asphalt roadway if you're filming in a city. Water on the surface of asphalt and concrete reflects the lights from the surrounding ambient lights, making the road a giant reflector. Be sure to make use of it. As a matter of fact, many pro cinematographers wet the ground in all of their shots, even if it hasn't been raining on the scene. It's a great way to give the shot a specific feel and look. Find natural light sources even when you're indoors. The same rules for filming night outside apply to shooting indoors. The only thing that switches up are the number of light sources and what they are. Now you might be working with a desk light or lamp instead of a street light. When filming in a dark environment, look for any possible sources of light that you can utilize to illuminate your subject. If you need more light, place your actor near a practical light source, such as a glowing computer screen. To capture their emotions, be sure to have them face the light source. Adjust your settings so that you're exposed to the night. The first step is to recognize that a night scene is just a night scene, and you can't expect the same outcome as you would during the day. Shadows, contrast, and maybe even some grain will be there. You want to optimize your camera settings, exposing your subject within this dark environment. Is the light from a streetlight illuminating your actor or actress on one side of their face? Fantastic. Set your aperture, shutter speed, and ISO to expose the portion of the actor's face that should be exposed correctly while keeping the other part in shadows. It'll provide a striking, low-key, and attractive appearance. If you can, invest in a full-frame camera. Even if you get excellent results with a micro four thirds sensor like a GH6 or even an iPhone, if you apply the guidelines above, they can't compete with the camera with the full-frame sensor. The reason for this being is straightforward. A larger sensor captures more light than an APS-C, micro four thirds, and a smartphone sensor because the full-frame sensor has more prominent area for light to hit. Be sure to invest in fast lenses and open up that aperture. A large sensor is necessary to shoot video at night, but the light must pass through the lens first. If the lens is considered slow, or has a slow f-stop value, consider upgrading to a faster lens with a larger aperture, allowing more light into the camera. Anything that's an f2 or lower should suffice. Try to shoot in 24 frames per second. 24 frames per second is a standard rate for video. But because the golden rule is frame rate times 2 equals your shutter speed, a 1/50th shutter speed is slow enough to allow more light to hit the sensor, thus allowing for a brighter image. If you're shooting at 60 frames per second and following the 2 times rule, you're going to be cranking up your shutter speed around 1/120th of a second, and that's too fast for nighttime shooting. When it comes to filming, be sure to increase your ISO last. The last thing you want to do when shooting at night is boost your ISO too high. This is the fastest way to get grainy, unusable images. When you increase your ISO on a digital camera, You artificially or digitally boost an image's brightness after the light has been reflected off of a sensor. The more light that hits that sensor, the less grainy it looks. The higher the ISO, the greater the digital noise you'll get. That's why you should only increase the ISO as a last resort. ISO is improving in digital cameras, but nothing really replaces honest-to-goodness light. Try to use the magic hour. If you want a night scene in post-production but don't want to do it, shoot at dusk or dawn for the last or first light of the day. It's a beautiful time to shoot, but it still gives you that darkness you're looking for. In videography and photography, this time of day is known as magic hour or golden hour. This is because the sun sets, creating dynamic shadows and gorgeous colors in the sky. Interested in wanting to know more? We sure as heck made a video discussing golden hour, so definitely check that one out after this one. Try not to use log footage. Now, this one might sound a bit odd if you're an advanced shooter, and perhaps you've gotten used to shooting log for everything. For those who don't know, log footage is a picture profile designed to give your camera the maximum dynamic range stops by graying out the image and retaining the most data possible in shadows and hot, overexposed areas of your images. Now, this might sound ideal for nighttime shooting, right? Truthfully, not so much. One trade-off with log is that it automatically bumps your ISO and makes your images grainier. If you need to use your ISO simply to achieve exposure, the log mixed with ISO will make for unusable shots. And of course, lastly, edit your video in post-production. Yes, finally, tweak your exposure in post-production. We never like to recommend you leave all the hard work for your editor, instead of suggesting you attempt to get it right in the camera. Still, when it comes to nighttime shooting, well, it's hard even for professional shooters. Light is the most essential element of video. If you don't have enough of it, getting the image to look correct will be tough. Use all the power of this incredible editing software to clean up your dark photos and videos. And that concludes our tidbits on filming at night. Hopefully we've helped expose you a bit more and cleared up any dark veils within regards to shooting in the dark. It's all about balance. Remember, an underexposed video can be just as troublesome as an overexposed one. Thanks so much again for catching one of our videos. As always, if you enjoyed and found it informative, be sure to give us a like and subscribe as well too. Helps us out plenty. This is Raph from BNC Camera, and I'll catch you in another video. Bye now.